So we bought this property in 1998, and it was fallow at the time, mostly pasture, a little bit of nursery plants for California native plant xeriscape nursery. Hadn't had any grapes on it since the 1890s. We did a minimal amount of land prep. We disked, we did a shallow ripping, we combed for a few rocks. We didn't put out any herbicides. We wanted to spread the native plant material as much as possible. And then we put in drainage in the lower sections of the vineyard to handle some of the underground runoff. We've got a lot of hillside above us that collects a bunch of water and funnels it down underneath us. Basically, we wanted to make sure that we had as much of the native properties of the soil as possible. We didn't put any amendments out here, no potash, no oyster shell calcium. I mean, nothing other than what was here when we got here. We sourced most of our grown grape material from Tablas Creek, which means it's basically from Chateau Beaucastel. We also brought in a few other clones of Syrah that I'd had experience with. A friend of mine was the research enologist over at Phelps, and I tasted with him the trials that he did for a couple of years. And I liked the Clone 100, the Clone 877, and the Clone 174. So we have a little of that planted at the vineyard as well. We have a unique climate here. We're in the Sonoma Valley appellation, but we're only about 30 miles from the coast, and our drainage is actually towards Santa Rosa Creek and the Russian River. So we get breezes here from the west through the Jenner Gap and across the top of the Santa Rosa Basin, which cool us off in the afternoons much earlier than they get cool in Carneros or in Kemlin, just 3 or 4 miles down the road. We have Pinot Noir on the site, and I'm one of the last guys to harvest Pinot Noir in the Sonoma Valley appellation because it's that cold. So it is a very marginal climate by California standards for Syrah and the other Rhone varieties we have here. And in fact, the late ripening Rhones, the Grenache, the Mourvedre, and the Cunoise that we have on the site typically don't ripen until the first week of November. We've taken them off on average in the first week of November since 2005 when we started harvesting from the property here. The whole vineyard is planted at fairly tight spacing. We've got in the Syrah here 6 feet between the rows and 5 feet between the vines. Everything is pruned to cordon. We try and hang about 3 tons per acre for the Syrah. We find that gives us a good balance of canopy and fruit. We don't have to do a lot of hedging with that crop load. But that's a fairly low yield by standards that are established elsewhere in the state, especially on this density of planting. It's very easy to achieve high yields with 6x5 planting, in part because very small changes in the average cluster weight can result in fairly large changes in the yield. We don't do any regular fertilization. We put some compost out every year. We calculate how much nitrogen and potassium we take out of the vineyard every year on the basis of our juice chemistries at the winery. And then that's the amount that we want to put back on. We just want to replenish. We're not trying to push these vines at all. And as you can see, we run our vines a little bit less bright green than some people do. But then again, I think the goal here is wine quality and not the amount of wood that we can produce or how green our leaves are. And that's been the focus from day one. We established this vineyard as a wine-producing property, not as a grape-producing property. We were very lucky to encounter this particular piece of ground. It has a long history. We're lucky that we don't have a flat spot on it. It's all sloped. We've got 4 different soil types to work with, and that's just given us lots of opportunities to play around with different clones and different rootstocks and see what we're able to achieve. And I got to say, so far, what we've done, we've been really, really happy with. The quality of the wines that we produce have exceeded our expectations, and they've exceeded our expectations of ageability as well as initial quality. So I think we've got a really decent site here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to do over the next 20 years.